Good evening, podcast world and Facebook Live, folks. Time for another episode of Things My Mother Never Told Me. We've been bouncing around this summer, but we all right. Can you say hey?
Hey, everybody. Thank you for joining in with us.
We got another special guest for you this evening.
Yes.
This young man has been quite busy
I say.
and continues to be busy. So, Carl, we're going to read your bio
Okay.
and then let you get started telling your story.
Okay.
All right, everybody. Let's welcome Carl E. Deadrick, right?
Yes, that is me.
Deadrick. And he's a certified and experienced elementary middle school teacher, school administrator, athletic director, and coach with a vast knowledge of effective teaching and coaching procedures. He received a BS in education from Morgan State University in Baltimore, Maryland, and his MS in educational administration from Wayne State University. While in Baltimore, he was a fourth grade all-male self-centered teacher, a facility supervisor at a children's diagnostic treatment center, and a child caseworker at a juvenile detention. A very busy man, as you can see. He was also a professional athlete. He played in the Arena 2 Norfolk Nighthawks. He was a semi-pro football player for the Baltimore Renegades and the Detroit Seminoles. He's the founder, head coach, and athletic director of Wolfpack basketball camp for high-risk inner-city youth. He's a member of the BCAM, which is the Basketball Coaches Association of Michigan. He worked in the athletic development of inner youth ages kindergarten through high school, football and basketball, both boys and girls. Currently, he's the director of operations at the Derek Coleman Elite High School Summer Basketball League. And we're going to let you tell his story, his journey. All right, let's welcome him.
Hey, Carl, how you doing?
I'm doing great. That was a great bio.
That was you.
I didn't know I put all that on there.
Oh no, it was more than that.
Right, yeah, I know.
Yeah.
Hey,
Right.
We got to mention a member of Kappa Alpha Psi fraternity.
Oh, yeah.
Is that on here?
And that ain't on there, but
No,
we welcome you.
Yeah, right. So
Yeah.
so there you go, even more.
Right.
So
Yes.
so the first question I'm going to ask you, because it's the one thing that wasn't in there that I don't see. What high school did you go to?
I went to, well, actually, I did two high schools because I am originally from Los Angeles, California.
Okay.
Born and
Okay.
raised in Los Angeles, California. Spent some time there, and I was raised in Lancaster and Laguna and Pasadena. So I started here. I came here to middle school, started at Detroit Northern.
Okay.
All right, Detroit Northern. Stayed there, and then I went back home to California. I was going to John Muir High School, Pasadena. Left there, came back, and I went to Detroit Northern.
Okay.
And I graduated from Detroit Northern High School. So
Okay.
actually two high schools, yeah.
All right.
Back in '88. Yeah.
Cool.
All
So
right.
so you got a very diverse educational
Still a young
and
man.
educational and work background.
Yeah.
Right.
Yes, that's one thing about me. I love to work.
All righty. So Tim, you just read a whole host of things that you've been involved in.
Yes.
What was your first passion? Let's put it that way.
First passion was football.
Okay.
That was my first passion. Growing up in California, I always wanted to be a football player. My mother always tells the story how when I was a toddler, all the way up to like 9 years old, 10 years old, I used to walk around and stuff my shirts, t-shirts with pads, looked like I was playing football, put t-shirts on my shoulders. So I walk around like I got shoulder pads, and I'd go around trying to tackle my mother. So football was my first passion. I got involved in it. I fell in love with it. And back then, when I was coming up, when I first moved to Detroit, they had the PAL Athletic League.
Right.
PAL. Well, it's a police athletic league. And back then they had a weight limit. And I was a hefty kid. They wouldn't let me play. They wouldn't. No, seriously, they wouldn't.
Wow.
I couldn't play PAL because I was too heavy.
Yeah.
And they had a weight limit. So I had to wait till I got to high school. Once I got to high school, so I never really had that training where, a lot of kids had early age, like 9, 10 years old,
Right.
11 years old, they could play in the PAL League. I couldn't play because I was overweight. And some people can, identify with that if they're as old as I am. But now they do allow heavier children play in PAL. So, but anyway, I just learned the game in high school in my freshman year, and I was always around it. Even when I was in middle school, I wanted to be the ball boy. I'd go to Northern's football games and ask the coach, can I just ride on the bus with the team? So I was always around it. And even when I got to high school, the basketball coach, I asked him if I could be the team manager for basketball. I love basketball and football, but my first passion was football, to answer your question.
Okay. Right. Yeah. Wow. And so that's good. So but during your journey, you wound up becoming an educator.
Yes.
And
let me speak on that. Yeah. My uncle, whose wife just passed away a couple of weeks ago. Me and my wife went to California. We just got back. Matter of fact, Saturday we had to go to the funeral. But my uncle.
Sorry for your loss.
Thank you. She died of breast cancer. But
oh wow.
My uncle, who was a student at UCLA when I was when I was a baby, my dad. Of course, my mom and dad had separated. My dad was keeping me, and my uncle was taking care of me, along with my aunt. My dad's brother and sister. And my uncle, he says this, he was the reason why, I was the reason why he went into education, because my uncle taught me how to read. He taught me how to count. He was teaching me when I was 5 and 6, just being around me. And he said he needed to go into education because I was his first nephew. So he went and he got his bachelor's at UCLA.
Okay.
And then he went to Cal State and he got his master's in education. So of course, me honoring my uncle, I said I wanted to go into education. After I got a scholarship to go to Morgan State in Baltimore, I always I wanted to figure out what I wanted to do,
right,
with this scholarship. At first I wanted to be a journalist and be on TV,
right.
You know what I'm saying, to be a news anchor.
That's right.
Or write to a paper. But then those English classes were kicking my butt. When I started taking those English classes, the level 100, 300, it was like, I got to do a lot of writing. No, that's not for me.
It's find something else to do.
Right. I went into elementary education. So
okay.
Yeah.
And wait a minute, Morgan State is HBCU, isn't it?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I see. I just thought about it. I just looked at it. I just glossed all over that. We like to highlight our guests who've been to HBCUs.
That's right. Morgan State.
People need to know good people come out of HBCUs.
Yes.
Right. And so you went into elementary education. And so I see that you, on top of that, now let me look at this timeline. This timeline, because you taught in Baltimore, so I guess that was when you first got out of school.
When I first graduated from Morgan State, my very first teaching job, and I always tell this to the youth, was at a juvenile detention center.
Yeah.
Yes, it was called Charles H. Hickey Juvenile Detention Center in Baltimore County, and where they house juveniles from not only Baltimore but DC.
Okay.
And that's where I learned a lot of things from just those children, those kids. First kid I ever taught had robbed a bank 3 times.
And how old
was
he?
He was only 14. And the very first time I was ever in court was because I was subpoenaed to court. And I'm gonna tell this story. I was subpoenaed to court. I was all but 23 years old. I was subpoenaed to court because I had the young man in my class. I was teaching, very well-mannered young man out of the DC area, very intelligent. And they said, most bank robbers are very highly intelligent people.
Right.
So he fooled me because he was always doing his work. very manageable, did the program that he was supposed to do. And I wrote a letter for him to get out of the juvenile system early. You know, had him highlighted as one of my best students. He was doing well. His parent came to me, his mom came to me, thank you, Mr. Deadrick, for writing a letter. We love, you know, just giving me all types of praises for helping getting her son out of the system.
Right.
And 6 months later, after he was let out, released, he robs another bank. Right? He robs another bank, gets caught, right? And of course, I go to work one day, the FBI are there, and the lady who sits at the front security was like, the FBI is here for you, Mr. Deadrick, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, oh my God, what did I do?
Right.
So they come in the classroom, they tell me, and they show me pictures of the young man who is now robbing the bank of the T-shirt of the award that they gave him. Had the T-shirt on. I said, I mean, they're asking me all kind of questions. And so one of the toughest things I had to do was sit in that courtroom and face him and testify against him.
Wow.
You know, to say yes, you know, and it's just, it was one of those experiences like, how do you do that? And, you know, and, you know, that's why I kind of like dedicated my life to helping these youth, you know, making better decisions, you know.
Right.
And I think that was the turn of me going into teaching and coaching.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So that I can reach those type of kids.
Right.
So,
because it's going into jail or whatever it is and getting out doesn't mean anything if they haven't been taught how to change their life.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. That's true. That is true. So that was funny. And then
that was devastating.
It was, right?
That was devastating.
That was. I mean, you have to face a student that you had a high regard for, high praise. You expected. It was just like, it was so disappointing. And then I had to face his family, the ones who were, you know, of course they didn't want their son, and they didn't want their loved one to go to prison, because he was facing, at this time, he had turned 17. You know, he's going to be charged as an adult.
Right.
You know, for the crime of robbing the bank. So, and it's, I often wonder where he is now today, you know, if he's still in or if he's out. But, you know, that was over, I believe that was like over 30 years ago.
Yeah.
Almost close to 30 years ago. Yeah.
Wow.
So, that was interesting. So from there, I went on to teach at an elementary school in Baltimore. And I came back home. I came back to Detroit, and my first elementary school that I taught here in Detroit was John C. Marshall on the east side, right there on East State Fair.
Okay. Let me ask you. All right. Let me ask you a quick question before we move on there to that. You said that you taught a fourth grade all-male self-contained program?
Yes.
It was a self-contained teaching.
Right, right. So what was that like? Because I know you would. It was a study trying to see how well that worked.
Yes, it was a pilot program that was started actually in Baltimore City at the school that I taught at, Hartford Heights, and that was my first year teaching in the elementary. And so, because of my background at the juvenile center, right?
Okay.
That's why they gave me that. They did an all-male classroom, and then they had an all-female classroom. And they just there was an experimentation to try to see how that would work if the boys would learn. I think if they would learn faster or better in an all-male setting, without the other gender in there. So
plus a smaller classroom.
Yes, it was a smaller classroom. But in Baltimore City, we had open classrooms. We didn't have, where people can walk through the hallway right, by your class. That was one of the strange things about that elementary, because you can just walk through the hallway, and we had an open classroom. It was like an open setting. There was no closed door. Another class could be, and so you had to really showcase your management skills. Your class is not all over the place and making a lot of noise. So that was one of those. It was a challenge, but I got through it. And at the same time, and this is all related, because you're saying I like to work. I was also at that particular time, I was 24, right? Teaching an all male class in elementary. And I was a facility supervisor for the Children's Diagnostic Treatment Center.
Yeah.
Where they housed children that were awarded to the state. So there was kind of like a foster care. It was a foster care situation where it was, of course, it was a 24-hour. So I would leave from teaching, go there, work 4 to 12, midnight. You know, we got out. I got out at 3 o'clock, left the school and went right up the street to my. So I was barely even home. And then on top of that, as I was doing that, I was playing semi-pro football for the Baltimore Renegades.
Oh, wow.
So imagine that was my whole week teaching, doing the facility supervisor. And I'm going to put this on top of that. I also was a bouncer at a night. Hey, I'm serious. This was my life at 24 years old. I was a bouncer for a famous DJ in Baltimore named Frank Ski, who's now in Atlanta. And he had a club called Hammerjacks, and I would work on Friday nights and Saturday and Sunday nights. So, of course, you know, the club starts at 10, you know.
Right.
So you were still a big guy, huh?
Oh, man, yeah. I was still, you know, a big guy. So that was my life. I didn't have a day off.
And you were
raising a son,
Right, and raising a son.
My son at the time was 3.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, but he lived in Fort Washington, Maryland at the time. He was a little kid. So yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, it was a lot, man. So like I said, I got a lot of stories to tell.
Right. You were young. You were young and invincible.
Right.
So real quick question then. How did that all male class thing work out? Was it a positive? Was it a positive result, or was it no real difference?
I think it was effective. But they discontinued the program because I think some parents got together because they didn't feel like it was that program was going to be successful. I think my class was successful because of how I managed it. They learned. They were all reading level. They were all on math level. But after like I said, I only did 1 year there, and then I left and came to Detroit. But as I went back, I heard they discontinued it, but they don't have it. I don't think they have it here in Baltimore. No, here in Detroit, they don't have any male unless it's an all male school.
Right.
I felt like it was successful, but the powers that be that didn't, they didn't agree with it, or I think somebody complained about it.
Yeah.
To the point where they had to discontinue it.
I think that's what it was, because I know they had some pilots years and years ago where they thought about doing that, and people complained about it. Yeah, they thought it was discriminatory against the kids. But the idea was young boys are easily distracted by girls in the classroom. Yes. So let's get them away from it. There was some people that complained about it. They did try to do that here. I don't know what years it was, but I remember hearing about that. That's why I was asking how that went. That was probably like 97, 98 when that was going on. Well, mine was in 90, 95, 96. So yeah. Okay.
Yeah, now they have them with teachers that have the inclusive boys and girls, and they separate them by autism and and other learning disabilities and stuff like that.
Right. Yeah. Well, you have all male schools now.
Right. Right. Well, we always used to have them, but they were Catholic schools. Or parochial schools, they call them. So that's the only way you would get, because you remember one time 100 years ago, Notre Dame University was all male school.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, it was all male school. They had a back in the early 70s, and when they broke it up, they had a female school that sat almost on their campus called St. Mary's. And there was actually a real quick story. There was actually was it Worthington? They had an all-American running back, black guy, who got caught with one of the girls from the school in his room, and they kicked him out of school, of course. But that's
get you every time.
That's a whole nother story though, because it wasn't necessarily that he had a girl in his room, it was that it was a girl of a white girl in the classroom in his room.
Yeah.
But right. But so your educational journey sounds like you went through a lot of stuff, and you were the principal at a charter school
Yes.
in Texas.
So yeah, I was a principal at I had moved to Texas back in 2007. All right, in 2007, I was like, man, I need a change. I've been in Detroit. I'm not really a Detroiter, but I've been here. I was doing a lot here. I was like, I need a change. So I moved to Texas, where my grandmother and my grandfather are originally from before they moved to California. I moved to Katy. I lived in Katy, Texas for about 6 months.
Okay.
And the very first job I had was a principal of Paradigm Accelerated Charter School, PAC, PACS. And it was ran by Keith Johnson. He was a pastor, but he was a white Anglo-Saxon Bible Belt type of preacher who was running a program for at-risk boys.
Okay.
So that's where his passion was. And excuse me, not Keith, Ron Johnson.
Okay.
He passed away now, but of course this was back in 2007, 2008, and I interviewed with him. And the reason he said he chose me, because the interview was actually like halfway between Houston and Dallas, and I'm from Detroit, so I drove my truck, and I actually parked next to him. I didn't know I parked next to him, and when the interview was over, I thought I had a very good interview. I let him know I was from Detroit and I'm just making it out here, and I'm in education. I was working on my master's at the time to get for administration. And he said he looked in my truck. When I got in my truck, I had the Bible sitting right in my front seat. He said that's what impressed him, the fact that I had a Bible in my truck. And that's why he hired me. Yeah. You never know. See how God does, right?
Yeah,
that's right.
That's right.
That's right. That's right.
And so he hired me, and it was a pilot program that they were just starting. And now, because of my background with teaching at the juvenile facility, he was working with the guy named Dewan Walker, who was actually a wide receiver for the Miami Dolphins years ago, who lived in Texas, who started a group home. And now, he was getting money from the state starting this group home, but he needed to he needed to prove that he was giving these kids an education. So they started together this charter school called Paradigm Accelerated Charter, where they can go in and accelerate their learning process to go ahead and graduate. All right.
Okay.
Most of these kids, of course, were awardees of the state, but which they were housed under Mr. Walker's his organization. Okay. So we had about 60 kids, all males again. Mostly all males. We were open to females. There was some troubled youth females, but they came in, and I stayed in that position for about 6 months, and then I came on back to Detroit. So I was the principal of this pilot program, which it did pretty good the first year. The numbers were low. Of course, the funding was based on how many children you had in the school. So
right.
Yeah, we had took over an old high school, and this was in Wallace, Texas. So I don't know if you guys ever heard of Wallace, Texas.
I have.
It was in Wallace, Texas, right down the street from Sealy, Texas, where that was the home of Eric Dickerson. I don't know if you guys know who Eric Dickerson is, but and this was a very rural area. I mean, had one big highway that went down the middle of it. The downtown area is maybe like 4 buildings. Country Texas, and it took me an hour to get from where I lived in Katy to Wallace, Texas every day. So that was a very interesting area of my life.
It sounds like it.
I'm sure.
Yeah, it was.
I never heard of Katy, Texas either. So.
Never heard of Katy? It's right outside of Houston. Right outside of Houston, Texas. Yeah.
Okay. If you heard about it, you wouldn't like what you heard. So right. So that's cool. So then you so I'm bouncing around here.
Yeah.
Okay. And so we got this teacher, administrator thing going. How did you get into your basketball program?
Okay, yeah. So of course, in high school, I played JV basketball. Of course, football was my thing. So after my JV year, I just stuck with football, but I was still a basketball manager. I always had a love for basketball, but I just excelled naturally in football. How I got into basketball is another interesting story. I was at Marshall. I was still playing semi-pro football.
Okay.
I had played arena football up in Flint for a team called the Flint Flames. I was still teaching, playing football. I got picked up by a team in Virginia. I left Detroit for, I took a sabbatical. I took, a leave of absence. My principal allowed me because they were like so proud of me that I made a professional team. So I left, played my very first professional game. The very first professional game, I get injured.
Oh.
I break my ankle.
Wow.
The very first game down in Augusta, Georgia. I'll never forget it. And so, of course, I had to have surgery on my ankle down in Virginia. They shipped me back to Virginia, got my surgery. Then I came back to Detroit. Now I'm on crutches. I'm in a boot and everything, trying to rehab. And so, of course, I'm thinking, okay, my football career is over. So I'm back in the phys ed position at Marshall Elementary. She allowed me to come back to work on crutches. So, I'm in the gym teaching. So one teacher who was running the basketball program, he was already the basketball coach. He was like, "Coach, I need some help. Can you help me?" And I'm like, I don't know. Because at that time I was coaching high school football for Detroit Northern, working for them. So I was just doing football. But then I started falling in love with the fact that I don't have to manage as many kids. In football, you got 40 to 50 kids you got to manage. You know what I mean?
Right.
But in basketball, you can manage up to 15. That's it.
Right.
I like that. And the fact that we're inside and the fact that, away from the heat and everything. So I said, let me try this. And so I coached for him. I was kind of like his assistant. There were some days he would take off and say, "Hey, man, can you just run the team?" So I would run the team, and I saw how the boys would respond to me because I took a different approach. I took a teaching approach to coaching.
Right.
I would want to teach them how to play the game, and they would pick up on it. And I saw the success of it, and I said, "Man, I think I could do this." So every year, I just started getting better, and the teams were winning. I said, "Man, of course, I would come up against some. I'm very competitive.
Right.
I don't know, I'm a very
Sounds
competitive
like
guy. Yeah,
Right.
I am. I'm very competitive. So when we would go out and would play these teams and get cream, I'm like, man, I got to get them. I would try to watch and see what those coaches were doing. And the very first thing, I'm a sharp kind of guy. I like to dress well. I feel like, I like to be, looked at and oh man, I like those shoes, or I like that tire. I like
Right.
to be
That's
different.
right.
I'm different like that.
That's right. That's right.
So if I'm like that, my team has to be like that. So I'll never forget. And it was a coach I was just talking to the other day. He was like, "Man, you was the first team I've ever seen who's elementary." Now I had elementary, right? They came with Letterman jackets to the game. I said, I don't know if you remember this store back in about 2001 called Stephen Barry's.
Yeah.
Stephen Barry's. That's
Right.
it. I went to Stephen Barry's, bought 12 Letterman jackets. They were only on sale for like $10.
Yeah, that's right.
$10,
That's right.
right?
That's right.
And they were our school colors. I bought 10 of them. And I took off the letters and put the school letters on there. And they had the bags. They were walking. So that was the half of the battle right there.
That's right. That's right.
In the gym, they already intimidated the whole team because everybody looking like, who is this? Oh, they look, no matter if we can play or not.
That's right.
They just looking at
That's what my husband always say about our golf.
If you can't play good, look good.
Right.
Look good.
But the motto is, if you look good, You feel good. If
You
you
feel
feel
good.
good, you're gonna play
You're gonna play
good.
good. And for
Right.
sure at that young age, when they see them coming in there all sharp,
Dragging
they automatically scared of them.
Yeah.
You know, ain't no team coming in here dressed like this and can't play.
right. And that was it. So that was the thing. And so I just got highly engaged in it, man, and I just started making a little noise of winning. And not only winning, but we were always known as the best looking team. Seriously. And that was in elementary. That was unheard of.
Unheard
Guys
of.
would come in there with t-shirts with marker numbers on them.
Right.
You know.
Y'all coming in with jackets, Letterman jackets.
Yeah, we come in with warm-ups, you know. Who does that in elementary school, you know?
Nobody.
So,
matter of fact, ain't nobody doing it now, are they?
Right. So can you get my charger? Yeah. So that what motivated me to keep going. And from there, from Marshall, after I left Marshall, let me go back. So I went to Texas.
Mm-hmm.
I left Marshall, and see, you know, being a member of Kappa Alpha Psi had its privileges because, you know, once you leave the district, sometimes it's hard to get back into the district.
Right.
And so when I got to Texas, I was like, it's just not for me. Let me go back. Let me see if I can still get a job.
Right.
I went back to Detroit. So I came back. It's like, yeah, we'll take you back.
Yeah.
And that's all I need. I moved my stuff from Texas back to Detroit, went back to Marshall, and it was just so happened that Marshall was closing that year, you know, when all the schools were closing. I think this is when Robert Bob had taken over.
Right. Yeah.
Robert Bob, yeah.
He was shutting everything down.
Yeah. So I just you know, left Marshall, went over to Schultz Middle School.
Mm-hmm.
And that was the home of, so funny, the Clark sisters. And there's something else you didn't put in my bio, which is probably one of the most interesting things, is that I do acting as well.
Yeah. That wasn't in there.
You didn't send that to us.
No, I didn't.
But we was gonna get to that.
We talked
you
about
were?
it.
Yeah, we're gonna get to that.
Right.
Well, you might well go ahead. We'll come back to the other thing because we were watching. Was it Apple TV?
Must have been.
One of them. We were watching this program came on. You know, we like to watch Black produced in movies and such. And I'm looking. I'm like, I know that guy. Yeah. I'm like, wait a minute, I know him.
Yeah.
And then and so when the credits ran, I had to run the credits back.
Yeah, he ran it.
And I ran about. He a church member.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So let's since you did it, let's segue over there real quick. How did that come about?
Okay, so when I came back, but before I had left to go to Texas, I did a stage play called Love Is.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Friend of mine at the time, she was like, you have a good look, interesting look. My friend is doing a play and she needs someone to you know, play a role of kind of like, you remember the character in what was that the movie with Whitney Houston, the one that was produced with Whitney Houston, Angela Bassett. It was a book, Waiting to Exhale. Remember that?
Okay, Wait to Exhale. Okay.
Remember that movie, Waiting to Exhale?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You remember Angela Bassett's husband who left her for the white woman? They needed a person to play something like that. So my character in Love Is I was a husband who had a woman on the side, but we had a perfect life. We were having this, we were having a dinner party, have all these people over, and I was pretending like I was still in love with her. But then when we got by, I said, you know, I'm leaving you for the other. So that was interesting. So I would play kind of like a villain. I did really good.
Right.
And I'm about to throw another loop to you. A person that was in that very first stage play was Charles Pugh. Yeah.
Yeah, we're familiar with that name.
Yeah, Charles Pugh was in that stage play. And so that was funny. So from there, the guys, you know, I had just met up the whole cast, and one of the cast members, who's now famous for doing a lot of Detroit movies, started writing and started doing some things, and he asked me to do a commercial.
Okay.
Right. From that gig, just from that acting experience, that was my very first time, no coaching or anything. He asked me to do a tax commercial, Datatron, that tax commercial.
Right.
And I can still get recognized for that today. Some people actually thought I did taxes. So it was a local commercial for Datatron that was based in Southfield at the time.
Right.
This was back in 2006, I believe. And I did the commercial.
Now that you say that, I remember that.
Yeah. Datatron, I did a little skit because, I like comedy, but I was like acting like I was, he was like, man, how fast can I get my tax return? I punched a bunch of keys and it's like, bam, here you go. Like, they like that.
Yeah, that's fast.
Right, that was fast. Man, that's fast. So they like that. They put me on. And then, of course, I did that. And then I left and went to Texas, did all that. Like I said, it was a principal. Came back. When I got back that summer, another guy who was a castmate on that play, he said, man, I'm doing this movie, man. They need somebody to play a cop. And so he told me to go to this guy named James Turner, who was a movie producer at the time. He had a film he was producing called Destiny's Calling. That was my very first film that I did called Destiny's Calling.
Wait, watch this. James is the one that was on the show. The movie producer that we had to do. Yeah, that's what he's talking about.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, he actually was a guest here on the podcast.
Oh, really?
Him and his wife both were guests on here.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. She went to Northern too. Yeah, she went to Northern. Yeah. And so he liked me from there, and then I started doing the filming, and it was a great experience. I loved it, and from there, I didn't get any work a lot of from there, but then I auditioned for Michael Matthews. I don't know if you know who he is. He's a famous playwright.
Yeah, I know the name.
Michael Matthews. He was out of Flint.
Mm-hmm.
He did a lot of plays, and the very first major play I did was called Danger at My Door.
Okay.
And that had Vivica Fox in it. It had Karen Clark. Not Karen, Karen Clark Sheard.
Yeah.
And that's what I wanted to talk about because the Clark sisters at the time went to Schultz. And when I told them I was a teacher at Schultz, they was like, oh, that was my elementary, middle school. All the Clark sisters, yeah.
Yeah.
And it was Vivica Fox. It was this Carl from, what's the singer? From Commission.
I know you're talking about, I can't think of his name.
Not Carl Thomas. But he was a singer from Commission. He went to Mumford.
Mm-hmm.
You don't know him.
Well, Fred Hammond was.
He was with Commission, but he was the older.
Right, he was older.
Yeah, he was older. One of the singers from Commission, when he was in it, is Carl Reed. I don't know if it was Reed. I think that was Reed.
Okay.
But him, Karen Clark Sheard, or not Sheard, but Karen Clark. Who else was it? Reginald Ballard. Reginald Ballard is the brother man from the Fifth Floor on the market.
Right.
Yeah, it was with him.
Oh, so sound like that's going to laugh. That was hilarious.
Yes, it was. And you'll never guess what I played.
What did you play?
I played a pastor. That was my very first pastor play. My wife went to that and they thought I did pretty good.
Okay.
I think I did pretty good. Yes.
I'm sure she would have told you if you hadn't.
So we did that, and then he liked me, and he put me in another play. What was the name of that other play? But he put me in another play, and both of these plays were videoed. So I do have some footage and video of me being in these stage plays.
Right.
So he was selling the DVDs. They were coming, So I did that, and then I played in another play with Jack A. And Jack A. Harris, you know who Jack A.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And
She's
Miguel
still
Nunez.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
And
also, yeah. And with Miguel Nunez was the guy that played Pretty Ricky on Martin. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So, hold on. Oh, okay, yeah, we go, yeah. So we 20 minutes later than when it's normal starting time, so we got a little time for that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I'm told you I can talk, man.
No,
so.
but she because we are she want me to segue real quick.
Okay.
And we're gonna try to come back because I'm enjoying these acting stories.
Yeah.
The title of the podcast is Things My Mother Never Told Me.
Okay.
And so you've led a diverse life,
Yes.
did a lot of things. Is there anything that you've encountered in your journey that your mother didn't tell you about, didn't prepare you for? Anything like that?
You know what? It's always financial. I'm gonna speak about finance because Mama didn't tell me about, pay your bills.
Mhm.
Pay your bills on time. Make sure it's your credit. And that's one of the things I try to teach my children.
Mm-hmm.
You know, credit is everything. Your
Yes.
credit,
Yeah,
credit
Mm-hmm.
history.
yeah,
It opens doors to a lot of things. So
Yes, it does.
financially, just watch out for, just people, you know, latching on to you for the wrong reasons.
yeah,
You know, people latching on to you for your clout. Always things she didn't teach me is like make sure that you surround yourself around positive people.
uh-huh.
You know what I
Okay,
mean?
okay, yeah, that's
You
important.
don't want to go around. You don't want to hang in the same pool with people who aren't doing. That can pull you under.
Yeah, right,
You know what I'm saying?
right,
You want to
yeah,
hang in the pool where people are going to help you swim.
yeah,
You
that's
know,
right, that's
and
right.
have it
And if you
elevate
drown,
you.
right.
There
If you
you
drown, and they're gonna try to lift you up. Right,
Right. Yeah.
without a doubt.
So
Yeah, that's
those
good.
are those are some of the life lessons that I've learned.
Yeah, well,
You
that's
know.
good. And then
Right.
and prayerfully, you still standing.
Yes. Yes, I am.
You still
Yeah.
standing.
I attribute that to my grandmother, man, because she was I have a praying grandmother.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
When I left her when came here to Detroit with my mother, and my grandmother was still in California, she prayed for me because she heard about Detroit. Even though I was from Los Angeles, she lived in LA where it was gang country, but she just wanted to make sure that I didn't get out here or, in Detroit and become a
Mm-hmm.
drug dealer, a hustler, or,
Mm-hmm.
Right, right.
petty thief or anything negative.
Yes,
Yeah.
So
praise God.
she
Mm-hmm.
prayed, and I made sure that I, gave her flowers and always told her that I appreciate the love and support that she gave me from afar. So,
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
Yes,
Beautiful.
yes, yes.
Beautiful.
yeah.
Okay,
Mm.
so I'm looking at the clock, see where we got a few, we got time.
Mm-hmm.
So let's go real quick through this acting deal, and then we'll get back to your youth camp.
Okay.
I cannot think of the name of the movie that we saw, but you played the husband of the young lady, and I guess the daughter who was messing up her relationship,
I think.
and you came in at the end with some words of wisdom for them to get back on track. I can't.
Where I played that could have been Not Left in Vegas, or it could have been Paper Hearts.
What was the Vegas one called?
Not Left in Vegas, where my daughter was getting married to a guy who went to Vegas, and I had two daughters.
Mm-hmm.
I had two daughters in that movie. I had two daughters. One that they didn't know, they never met, and they finally met.
Yes.
And they
Yes.
finally met, but one of them, both of them messed with the same guy.
Right, she's the exotic dancer.
Yes, yeah,
Yes. That's the one.
right.
That's the
Yeah,
one.
that was one.
Yeah. I like that movie.
That was a funny role too.
Yes,
I like
it
that
was.
Right. And how did you get that one?
one. Well, the producer was named Kamal. He was like,
Right.
I want you to make a he was like, I want you to play the father,
Mm-hmm.
and because I did, I had totally forgot I did his TV series. He had a TV series called Because We're Men.
Okay.
It was a local TV show that he did, and I did a Thanksgiving special episode for him.
Okay.
And he's like, man, they like my work, so.
Right.
And usually when I get parts, I really don't have to audition. They already know that I fit that part because I can, I like doing voices. I like doing impressions.
Right.
I like doing foreign voices, and things like that.
Okay.
I did a play where I played a Puerto Rican, where I had to have a Puerto Rican accent. Yeah. So I just love that, man. It's like having
man.
fun. So
Right.
yeah.
Without a doubt.
I
So I
don't know
got
how
that.
you find the time. I just don't.
Right. My wife says the same thing. She says the same thing. So
Right. Wait. Well. Real quick on that note, anything that's coming up, or you just waiting in the wings?
actually, I just wrapped maybe 2 months ago on a movie with Kamal Smith again called Parental Discretion Advised. I play a local hustler gangster, a big time wig gangster. This is different from me because I'm usually playing a cop. That's what Derek Coleman always talks about. All you play is cops. The last couple of movies, I played a police officer. But anyway, I played a gangster. I played a cool gangster. And I liked it.
Yeah. Got to dress up and all that, right?
Yeah, had the little dive hat on. Had to, had some nice clothes. I had the cigar, with the Cartier glasses. Real Detroit gangster. So, and we just wrapped on that a couple of months ago.
Okay.
And that's the only thing that's coming out. The latest movie that I did was called Paper Hearts, that came out on Tubi. It's actually on Tubi. You can check that out. And that's with the guy from, I don't know if you guys are familiar with Black Ink Chicago.
Yeah.
Black Ink Chicago is a drama series, or it's one of those what do you call those
reality
shows
yeah.
that's out of Chicago about a tattoo artist, and his name is Don. He's a big guy with the beard, big muscle bound guy, and he's one of the tattoo artists. But he did a movie here in Detroit, and I played his boss.
Oh, okay.
And where I play a father as well. I play his boss and his soon-to-be father-in-law. And so that was a good movie. That was an interesting role too. So,
okay. All right.
Yeah, those are the latest projects.
Yeah. Well, okay. I guess you got some. You had a little bit of time, so you got a little time on your hand now.
Yeah, man, got some time, man.
Sleep hours.
Right. Yeah. So over the summer, it's been real busy. It's been a busy summer for me.
Right. So let's segue with that. So you ran your what just wrapped up? The camp?
Well, actually, my basketball camp wraps this Friday, but last week, the basketball summer league for high school.
League. Yeah. That
summer league, yeah. And so with that, I did want to speak on the Derek Coleman, big number 44. He was the number one pick back in NBA draft in 1991. He was the first $100 million player out of Detroit.
Yeah.
Of course, me and him went to high school together. He went to Detroit Northern.
Right.
He then ended up going to Syracuse, played at Syracuse, and then he was the number one draft pick in 1991. And he went to New Jersey, played for New Jersey Nets. He played with the 76ers, where he was, played with Allen Iverson. And he ended his career here in Detroit with the Pistons.
Right.
And one of the most famous game everybody knows was the Rumble at the Palace, or whatever they call it.
Malice at the Palace.
Yeah, the Malice at the Palace. He wasn't so much involved, but he was on the bench, and I was like, man. So that was one of the most famous.
He had enough sense. He had enough sense not to get up off the
right. He had enough sense. He didn't want to mess his money up.
That's right.
Ever since he retired, he's been doing things for youth. He's been doing things out of River Rouge. And so when we hadn't linked up in a while, but he saw what I was doing in middle school with basketball. And so he reached out to me. He was like, Carl, man, I love what you're doing. So he wanted me to coach his junior NBA team.
Okay.
So he has a junior NBA team, which started maybe like 4 years ago before COVID. He was putting together, and he wanted me to be the coach. So I said, okay, man, I'll do it. He saw my work with the youth, and he stuck with me. And so then he was like, well, I need you to run my summer league. And so I was like, all right, man, I can do it. And last year we did it at Groves. He was actually the one who got me the job at Birmingham Groves as the JV coach
Okay.
under Benny White. I don't know if you ever heard of who Benny White is.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, Benny White. So
You
he's my head coach.
I've been around a little while.
Yeah. So you know who Benny White is. Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Great brother, man. He's like a big brother to me, Benny White.
Okay.
And I've learned a lot under him, and he was the varsity coach. I became the JV coach.
Okay.
And so Benny decided to retire this year.
Okay.
And everybody thought that even Benny put in for me to get the head coaching job, the varsity job, and I didn't get it, which was okay.
Okay.
You know, it wasn't my time. And they said it wasn't in God's plan at this particular time. And so God had something bigger for me.
Right.
And my work wasn't done. So just helping DC do, his foundation, helping him. He has a harvest, Forgotten Harvest that he does. He gives food and giveaways for all these families in River Rouge and in Detroit.
Right.
I've been a part of that. And so when he started DC Elite and Team Michigan, I helped him with that. So I do a lot of work in the community. Like I said, so it segues into my basketball camp that I run every year. I've been running for the last 7 years with a partner of mine named Dwayne Carson. And we started the Wolfpack camp where we just help inner city youth. Yeah. Where we help inner city youth who can't afford to pay these high expenses for personal trainers. You know how much?
Yes, we do. Our daughter played basketball.
Right.
So yeah.
And so and we wanted to make sure that we provided an avenue for kids to be off the street, for one, play basketball, learn discipline, learn different life skills.
Yes.
And be around young men who are doing things positive in the community. So not only do we offer basketball, but we offer programs as far as personal hygiene, teaching them hygiene, teaching them about mental health. We take them on trips. My camp is the only camp that goes 6 weeks. And I'm gonna tell you this, Derek get on me about this, man. Stop messing with that. You need to come out here to the suburbs. I said, no, man. I think this is where I'm needed because a lot of these boys can't afford the type of training that I give them.
Right.
And a lot of them, by them not being connected, don't know the value of what they're getting. They're getting a lot of training and knowledge for basketball that if they were to go somewhere else, they're going to pay about $1,000.
No, I'm sure.
Which in suburbs, these parents can afford that.
Oh yeah.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
yeah.
So
All right, cool.
and that's why I praise Pastor Carnell for promoting it for me. And I know a lot of church members don't really understand what it is, but once they figure out, if they have a kid who's serious about basketball, because I only deal with kids who are really serious.
Okay.
My camp is not a daycare, which some people,
Sure.
Right. For $300 for 6 weeks. Oh yeah. So you can imagine I'm getting 5-year-olds, 6-year-olds. I'm getting 7-year-olds, but I really want to cater to like the 8-year-old, 9-year-old kid who really wants to play basketball.
Yeah.
So that's where I cater to.
Yeah, cool. Got that experience like you that wanted to play football back in
right. Yeah. I'm looking for the passionate.
Out the womb, they just wanted to always play this, always.
Yes. Right. Yes. Right. Yes. And I got I got a 5-year-old right now who wants it. And I wish I could have sent y'all some video, because I always take video of what we do in the camp. And maybe next time you can, I'll send it to you. You can see it. What we do is we take them to Belle Isle. We work out on the beach.
Okay.
We went last Friday. We went to the beach and they get in the sand and they do their drills. And you can see people walking by and they're like, "Who is that? What camp is that?" They're so impressed by the skills and the drills that these kids are doing out here and how organized they are. And then we take them back to the camp and we feed them. And so it's just I love doing it every year.
It's marvelous.
Right.
I love doing it.
And our children do need that. I'm like you, especially those that are serious about it. You're right.
Yes. And we make it fun.
High
the goal
risk.
is,
Oh,
yeah. So the goal is, and let me just say this, that I want to do, what I want to get out of this. Eventually, one day I'll be able to take these campers on the last week, maybe 4 days to a campsite where we could do some team building, some bonding, wake them up at 5:30 in the morning, let them run.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Have a basketball practice session. We can talk about some life skills, have another session, eat, do that for 4 days. You know what I mean?
Right.
Just to get away from the city,
Yeah.
a real camp.
that's a real camp.
And get them used to it.
Yeah.
It reminds me of my daughter when she started her police academy.
Uh-huh.
They wake them up. Hey, you only got so many minutes to get dressed.
Yes.
You got to be out there. Rain, sleet, snow.
That's right.
So know what that teaches? That teaches discipline.
Yes.
Which so many kids need to nowadays.
Need it badly.
Yeah. I'm still taking 30 minutes to get ready. So
right. Right.
Oh yeah.
Look at
and
he trying to say plus.
I'm saying plus.
Hey, don't tell my wife, shoot. Hey, I'm gonna tell this story because she probably gonna get mad. She'll be like, you gotta make it home because we gotta be such and such at a certain place. Are you gonna be home? You gonna be ready? I said, baby, I'll be ready. I come home from my busy day. She been home all day.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Yeah. I come home, I take my shower, ready, and I'm waiting for her in the car. Like, okay.
Well, we do have more things to do than shave.
Yeah, I know.
And that.
But look, I make it purposely to do that. I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna beat her. I'm gonna jump in the shower.
He don't get dressed. He don't even get dressed until I'm finished dressing.
Ain't no sense in getting wrinkles in my clothes.
Right.
Ain't no sense.
Right.
Hey, that's a male thing, like a female thing.
So right. So your current camp,
yes,
is how long does it run?
It runs 6 weeks. We start. What I did was I kind of wait for DPS to get out of regular school.
Right. So
that's when I usually start. The reason why we started late this year is because DPS got out late this year because of the COVID situation.
Mm-hmm.
And Dr. Beatty kept the students till like the end of June. Usually they get out like June 12th.
Right.
Middle of June.
Yeah.
So now they stayed to like the 22nd or something. So
right. They had to make up some of those days.
Late.
They had to make up some of those days they missed. Yeah.
So I go for 6 weeks, and I only charge $300 for 6 weeks. Yeah. So if you did the math on that, that's $50 a week, and we feed them.
And you feed them.
And I feed them, and I take them on trips. We go on trips. We go to water parks. We go to Belle Isle. Like we end our camp this Friday. I take them to Metro Beach this Friday, where I do a big thing for all the families. Okay. I cook food. We barbecue, cook chicken, hot dogs, and things like that. All the families come, and we just we just celebrate each other, and I allow the parents to meet each other, and we just we bond. And
how many students do you usually have?
Right, this year I have 25.
Okay.
We kept the numbers low.
Yeah,
which is good. It's a low number because of COVID still, but my goal is to have at least 60 every year. We can have 60 campers.
Okay.
So, but one day I'll get to 100. Once I get.
Oh, don't worry. With God in it.
Yes. It's going, it's going to happen. It's going to pan out. Because next year, I'm expanding. I'm going into the suburbs next year.
Okay.
Because people have started to recognize the camp and see the results that are happening. So we're going to be in Birmingham next year and Detroit. So I might get that 100.
No.
That's right. All I'm saying is, just wait on the Lord. We know, His time is not our time, but believe me, it's coming. You got to have the faith and put in that. Continue to put in the work.
Yes, and that's what and he's preparing me. That's what it is.
Oh yes, definitely.
That's right.
I'll be ready.
All
Oh,
right.
my hat's off to you for,
Thank you.
getting in the being in the community like that, and with the inner
Yeah.
city kids and the high risk and all that, because like you said, they need that outlet. And
Yes.
believe me, you're gonna change quite a few.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
You're gonna make a
I am.
difference.
Right. And you need that time off.
Right.
The camp is almost like a break for you.
Oh, man. You're right.
Almost.
Almost.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So-
That's wonderful.
So any last words you have for us?
Oh no, man. I appreciate you guys having me on, man, and allowing me to speak about my career and things that I've done. You rarely get a chance to just tell people about it. My wife is tired of hearing about it. So I get to talk to somebody else about it. So,
Right.
She can almost tell you what, because I'm trying to remember stuff, and she was like throwing the words out, tell me what I'm supposed to say. I'm like, oh yeah, that's it.
That's right. That's
So,
right. But I mean, it's like we always say, it's good to recognize people who are out here doing
Things
things,
in the community.
trying to make a difference,
Mhm.
and if nothing else, chasing their dreams.
yes, yeah,
Yeah,
yes.
because too many people, they give up on their dreams. They don't accomplish by a certain time. They say, I'm through with that. I'm not going to do it. And you live an example that you can do 70 different things at a time and not be Jamaican.
Yes.
So
yeah. And I just thought about something when you asked that question with things that my mother that never told me about. And I just remember in this pursuit of trying to be financially stable and things like that, I just learned that never chase money because you'll never catch it.
right. That's right.
If you're doing things for money, you're never going to get it.
Yeah.
Mhm.
You know what I mean?
Right. And if you get what you think you want, it's never going to be enough.
Right. Of course. So everything that I do, it's not for the money, it's for the love, it's for to help my community. And like she said, it's going to come.
Right.
I have faith in it. It'll come.
That's
So
right.
I just got to be ready for it when it does. And it's preparing me to be humble.
Yes.
I'm humble. And
Yes.
I'm appreciative of everything that's come my way. And I know things are going to get better. And, I'm happy.
Yeah.
And that's the bottom line. I'm happy, man. Happy doing what I'm doing.
Being content.
That's what matters. And
Being content.
But look where I'm at now.
I
I'm on the podcast. I'm doing an interview. This is my first one. Look at me.
There you go.
Oh, baby.
There you go.
And we gonna blow up too, because we gonna blow all of y'all up.
Right, there it is. There you like, hey, I remember I interviewed him. Yeah.
All right. Beautiful.
Oh, thank
All
you,
right.
thank you
So
for
we
that
gonna
compliment.
let you get back to the rest of your day. We appreciate you coming on.
No problem, man. Thank you for having me.
And
I appreciate you guys, and I'm gonna see y'all in church
yes, sir.
Sunday, right?
Well, you won't see me Sunday. I gotta go
You'll
to
be
a
out of
conference.
town.
I gotta go to a conference.
Okay.
But
Okay.
yeah, and tell the wife we'll be getting ready for her.
Yeah, I know that's
Okay.
right.
I definitely will.
All
I
right.
definitely will. Thank
All right.
y'all. Love y'all.
All right, thank
Love you too.
Thank y'all.
All right. Take
Have a
care
great
now.
day.
You too.
All right.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Bye.